Okay, so I have all of the spell information in. I updated all of the spell scripts to have the information that they're going to need. This is, again, kind of uh, placeholder stuff, and none of it's really means anything. It's just a bunch of random numbers that sort of kind of make sense, but not really. But all of the buttons work now, so clicking on any of these updates all of the buttons for the spells that you can use in any of those element classes. And then clicking on any of the buttons down here updates the information area with the information for that spell. So we've got a couple things going on. It tells you which elements are involved in the spell, and it also tells you what the spell is that it's changing. So Searing Blows is a change of Flame Sword, which is a fire spell, and then adding the element of water to it. So in all of this over here, this is extremely convoluted with information. I'm going to have to move everything around and figure out where it fits better, but the idea is working. All this stuff is changing and updating properly. So this will be the picture of the spell, the little icon, the thumbnail here, the stats you need to have to use it. So you need 12 intellect and 9 resistance to be able to equip the spell. I forgot to put the names of what these things are. I think this is cast speed, cooldown, and then how much resource it costs. And over here you have the scaling for each of the stats. For the most part, all of them are scaling off of stats that are required. And again, these are all completely arbitrary values. But then the name of the spell, what elements it's made up from, information about how the spell works in plain English, explaining what the actual spell is that you're modifying, and then over here just kind of like quick explanations of what the spell's going to do. So it's going to have this AoE size, it's going to have this many stacks that can happen, and it's going to slow this much. All this stuff is probably going to change as I go along. One thing I really want to add for especially this stuff is what the bonus you're getting is. So like on AoE size, maybe the intellect scaling will increase the AoE size or increase the slow amount. So once I put actual numbers in here, I'm going to want to put like maybe parentheses around it and say how much you're getting from scaling. Again, that's going to probably be pretty late on when I'm actually doing some combat testing and stuff. But yeah, so all the spells are in, they're all working, all of them update the information properly. You can also equip spells, so any spell that you equip here gets put up into your bar here. You can pick any of them from any of the things. And then while you're in game, when you pull down your little spell menu, activating any of them starts their cooldown, and yeah, you can only start them up again once the cooldown's off. And then hopefully we'll be able to see it down here. I should probably have the console up here for this. I'm trying to equip a spell. No, the cooldown's probably done now. If you're trying to equip a spell while the cooldown is off, it won't let you. So there we go. Our skills on cooldown, you can't change it. So yeah, it's just got the logic in for if you try and try and change skills while they're on cooldown, it won't let you. Couple extra things that I came up with while I was doing all this data entry for this stuff. I don't like the idea of having the spells just kind of be like you find them all or you have to buy them or whatever. And I can't remember exactly if I went into detail on this on the last video, but one thing I want to do is have they'll all obviously be unavailable at the start. Then you have to learn about the spell. And then once you've learned it so you know that it exists, it would say what the spell is here. And then however I'm going to do it, there's going to be like a info button that kind of overlays on top of the button, and a buy button or a purchase or whatever I'm going to call it. So hitting the info button would kind of just give really vague details, so probably just like the description, the thumbnail, and maybe this stuff. So just like these things would pop up, so you kind of know what the spell does before you buy it, sort of. And then buying it would like actually unlock it. So you'd use some of your currency over here, it would become available, and then you'd be able to equip it. Um, so that's going to probably be the next step for next week. What I do want to try and do, instead of, like I was saying, instead of having everything be bought or found or whatever, I kind of want the like finding out of spells to be sort of hidden-ish. But like one of the ideas I had was I can't remember what the name of the spell is off the top of my head, but one of the flame wreath, I think, is what it's called. Makes like a circle of flame around the character. So the way you would find out about that spell is being hit by a fireball, and then you get like a little mini quest that tells you to get hit by fireballs a couple times until you kind of realize how to push the fire out from you. Um, and then that's just that probably won't be how it works, but stuff like that where you have to like do certain stuff to figure out how a spell might work. Rather than just kind of finding it. And then there will probably be some spells that you find, but it'd be like a scroll or something that explains how to use the spell, or maybe some mage would teach you how to do a spell. But either way, no matter what, when you find the spell, when you learn about them, when you do one of these mini quests, you still have to purchase the spell. So you'd be using currency to purchase any of the spells. And the main reason I want that is because I want I kind of want there to be a difficult starting curve for the game. Not be impossible, but I want it to take a little while for you to really amass a bunch of power. But then once the character has a lot of power, once your stats are high, you have all the spells, you have a bunch of weapons, then you're like a killing machine. So yeah, I'm really happy I got all this stuff in. It took a long time, but I'm glad it's all working. Next week I would like to, as I said, try and get some more stuff with the cooldown system working. And next week, also, the big thing I need to work on is the consumable screen. So this guy needs to get in there. I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to put that in, like what layout it's going to have. So I'll have to do some designing on that because a vast majority of the items are just kind of materials. And I also need to figure out how I'm going to add in the materials stuff. So it might just be a subsection or split the screen in two or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, but that's going to be next week, and I will make a video next Friday. Alright.